Welcome back to Baseball Dad. Now, you've likely noted that we haven't stuck to our weekly schedule the last few weeks, and some of that is on me. Some of that is a family thing. This is, after all, Baseball Dad, and we'll always focus on family and the dad part of this first. That all said, this episode will have two parts for you. First, I feel it's only right that you get to know who is behind the Baseball Dad account and get to know me and my family. I will be talking about my children and my wife along the way, so it's only right that you get to know who each of them is as we go along. The second part of this episode will be a discussion about the 2020 season that starts this Thursday. Now, if you would like to skip straight to the discussion about the 2020 season and how to watch this year, you can guide yourself on that little scan bar over the pics of each of the children, and once you've passed each of them, well, and the dogs, you should be to the point of the 2020 season discussion. Okay, for all of you still here, I've been told that I'm moving a little bit slow through information, so I will speed up my conversation. And I will gladly take your feedback that I'm moving too fast now, if that's the case going forward. In introducing this channel, we'll start with me, the goofy looking guy that you're forced to hear each time you tune in. My name is Ben, and I'm a lifelong baseball nut. My great grandma wanted a fellow baseball nut in the family. And though she was a huge Cubs fan, her love of Hank Aaron inspired me to dive into books about Aaron as a youth and develop a love for the Braves, who had Bob Horner and Dale Murphy at the time for a young boy to cheer for. And, well, let's just say, even though that team was terrible, those two hooked me as a Braves fan. I grew up loving to play the game, but I grew up in South Dakota. And frankly, in South Dakota, we still don't have baseball as a state-sanctioned high school sport. So once I was done with youth baseball at 13, I was done with baseball because Legion Baseball, it's strong in South Dakota, one of the better state programs in the country, but it's just way too many games in way too short a time for a farm kid. So when I brought that idea to my dad, that was a no-go. So that led me down the road of football. And that was a very good road for me. It led me to eventually a chance to walk on at a Big Ten school before I ended up having to have eye surgery. That leads me to another thing that has come up in some of the questions and comments on the first few videos. That eye surgery didn't go well. And that'll explain for those of you who wonder about my eyes going different directions. That right eye is the one I had retinal detachment surgery. My right eye does drift. So if you wanted to follow, keep track of the left eye. That's my eye that I focus with. And a lot of the time I'm going to be doing various different pictures and things on the screen here, so you're not going to always be following my eyes. But if you are, the left eye's the good one to follow. So I attended a ton of games in college, living right across the street from the Metrodome, essentially. And as a young man, I went to a lot of games with friends, and I started to blog about the game and eventually edited multiple different blogs, some that were receiving over 1 million views per month. And that allowed me to eventually write about baseball full time. And while I love that, keeping up that pace took me away from my family more than I preferred. And I ended up choosing my family over that lifestyle. I now work as a reporter for our local newspaper, and I still do online writing for Prospects Live, and I own my own blog at videobaseballscout.com, where I still write a few articles every now and again. My wife and I actually met online just about 7 years ago now. Marie and I went on a baseball-themed bus trip honeymoon 5 years ago that led us to 10 ballparks in a bunch of different sites, including the Baseball Hall of Fame, Niagara Falls, New York City, Arlington Cemetery, the Football Hall of Fame, and a lot more places along the way, including getting to see Max Scherzer nearly throw a perfect game against the Pirates in Washington, D.C. Together, she and I have now been to 13 of the 30 Major League parks in our almost 6 years of marriage. And we try to cross off at least one baseball experience each summer during our family vacation if we can't get another park off of that list. We've adopted our 4 kids through foster care. The oldest is our only boy. His name is Lestat. He's followed by December, then Brooklyn, and finally Zaylee. Right now, they are consecutive in ages, currently 5, 6, 7, and 8 years old. We also have 3 dogs, a pug named Maddox, named after my favorite pitcher of all time, a pug named Princess, not a name that we gave her, and a poodle named Penny. Now you can see from the picture of Maddox that's on the screen right now that he's watching a ball game with me. Even the dogs in our house get into baseball. Okay, now that the introductions are done, let's get into talking about the 2020 season. Now this year has been billed as a quick sprint season. Playing 60 games starting on July 23rd seems like a short amount of time to squeeze in that amount of games. Until you look back and realize that the 2 teams playing the first official game of the season, the Yankees and the Washington Nationals, played their 100th and their 99th game on July 23rd of 2019, respectively. That means each had at least 62 games left in their season last year on that same day. So there will be no minor leagues this year. There will be no All-Star game. And certainly the coronavirus is going to hang over this season. But this will be essentially the way the season ended last year from the same date as far as the pace of the year. One great thing about sharing the game this year is that while there won't be fans in the stands, most likely during the year, rosters will allow for learning a lot about a lot more players. If you've ever just not taken the time to look up the players born on your children's birthdays, or gone through a box of baseball cards and had your kids pick out a favorite player to follow, this is a great season to do that with the expanded rosters for each team. Games will only be played within the same region, so you won't see the Yankees play against the Dodgers this year, or even the Yankees play against the Angels. But they could face each other if Major League Baseball can endure all the way to the playoffs without having to close down the season due to COVID-19 issues. The first 2 games will be Thursday, the 23rd, with the Nationals and Yankees opening the season at 7 p.m. Eastern. The Giants and Dodgers are the nightcap game on opening night at 10 p.m. Eastern. Now, as we go through and baseball is being played, we'll talk some about the games each week as we go alongside our weekly topic. So keep tuning in and enjoy the start of live baseball. We'll see you back again next week.